This is Unit 1, Measurement, Assessment, Evaluation and their relationship. What is measurement? It is an act or process of ascertaining the extent or quantity of something. Means we are measuring the quantity of something, that is called the measurement. According to Campbell, measurement means assignment of numbers to objects or events according to their rules. Means we are assigning any event or objects according to their measurements. That is called measurement. So what is the meaning and definitions of measurement? Measurement refers to the process of assigning numericals or events or objects according to the certain rules. So measurement is the process of assigning symbols or the numericals to observation, events and events in some meaningful, consistent manners. Measurement is of different types. Nominal measurement, we have interval measurements, ratio measurements. So measurement is assigning the numericals or events. What are the definitions of measurement? So according to the International Dictionary of Education, measurement is an act of finding dimensions of any object and the quality found by each act. And according to the Bradfeld, like measurement is a process of assigning symbols to dimensions of phenomena in order to characterize the status of some phenomenon and precise as possible. Like when we are assigning the symbols, and anything that exists in some quantity is capable of being measured in a quantitative description. Remember, measurement is always quantitative, it is not qualitative. Quantity, it is measured in numbers. These are the some other definitions of the measurements. Measurement is always done of a quality, attribute and variable thing of a person, and we never measure a thing or a person. Now what are the characteristics of educational measurements? Like measurement of facilities, assessment and evaluation. Then we have measurement tool commensurate with the instructional objective. Measurement accuracy, sharpness through standardization. Then process of assigning numbers, and measurement show the phenomena status of point of time, and use of measurement tools. Why we are studying the measurement? So measurement is very important in life. Measurement means to find out the quantity of some commodity characteristics in some defined unit, and this is true respect to human quality, different dimensions. Thorndike says that anything which is even in slightest existence, it exists in some quantity, and thing which exists in some quantity is measurable. So here this is an example that a person ride a distance of 25 km from the bus station, and he know that the distance of 25 km because he is aware of its measurement. Similarly, the temperature of the room, the cost of commodity can be measured in some unit. What is the function of measurement? Classification. Then we have selection and comparison. Then there is the prediction, guiding and counseling, diagnosis and research. Assessment is coming from a word Latin which means assiduare, to sit with. In assessment, one is supposed to sit with the learner. So this implies it is something we do with or for the student and not to the student, said by the Gregan in 1999. Concept of assessment. In education, the term assessment refers to the wide variety of methods or the tools that educators use to evaluate, measure and document the academic readiness, learning process, skill acquisition and educational needs of the students. In the field of education, this assessment refers of searching or judging the achievements, performance of the students, in which utilize has to take the wholesome consideration in quantitative and qualitative description. So meaning of assessment, that usually using the wide variety of methods and tools that educator use to evaluate, measure and document the academic readiness and learning process and the skills of acquisitional and educational needs. Then we have definitions of assessment, that according to Ross, the term assessment as distinguished from measurement is often used to refer the process of appraising the whole child or entire educational situation. What are the characteristics of assessment? Like connected to some objective, is appraising students about the level of their achievement, improvement in instruction, feedback to the different interest groups. Now, what are the types of assessment? We have different types of assessment, like high stakes assessments are typically standardized tests and used for the purpose of accountability, any attempt of federal, state, and local government agencies to ensure that students are enrolled in effective schools and being taught effective teachers. Then we have the next type of the assessment, which is the formative assessment, are in the progress of evaluation of student learning that are typically administered multiple times during unit test, course test, academic performance. And general purpose of the formative assessment is to give educators a process of feedback about what students are learning and not learning. Summative assessment are used to evaluate student learning at the conclusion of a specific instructional period, typically at the end of the unit and a course. End of the unit, course, program, or the school year, and scored and usually scored and graded assignment projects are used to determine whether the student have learned and where were they expected to learn during the defined functional period. Another type of assessment is interim assessment and placement assessment. Then we have the screening assessment. What are the principle of assessment? So, principle of continuity, principle of totality and comprehensive, principle of considering measurement and evaluation, modification and improve. Different types of the assessment, like standardized assessment, standardized base assessment, common assessment, portfolio based assessment. Now, what is the concept of evaluation? So, evaluation is a systemic process of assessing the quality and effectiveness or the value of a subject. It involves collecting and analyzing the information to make the informed decisions and improvement, and major effectiveness involve judgments, meaning and definitions of the evaluation. Then what are the definitions of evaluation according to the Helena, Bradfield, and Breston and the Slater? Kothari Commission has defined evaluation as a continuous process, and it is a stand integral part of total evaluation system and intimately defined to educational objective. Then what we have a Crater and the God. What are the educational objectives of evaluation? So to appraise the teacher competence, supervisor competence, method of improvement, steps involved in the education's evaluation. What is the need and importance of the evaluation? Know the personality of student, know the performance of student, modification in teaching methods, helpful in planning, helpful in improvement of school program, educational process, useful in the students, basis for the educations and basis for the evaluation student in the next class, helpful in guidance. We have some evaluation techniques, and important one is the objectivity, which include two things: reliability. Reliability means when the same test is administered to a student at different time intervals without any verification of scores obtained, it implies that the test has evaluated the situation accurately and free from error. Then we have validity. A test should measure for which it is intended to, and discriminatory, comprehensive, diagnostic test, and usability. And what is the principle of evaluation? Principle of evaluation, principle of variety, utility, principle of continuity, comprehensiveness, child-centeredness, and flexibility. And then we have selection of proper techniques. Then principle of objective centeredness, principle of analysis, principle of providing suggestions, interrelationship between the measurement and assessment. So first, measurement is quantitative and measurement is limited to quantitative description, whereas it is assessment is quantitative as well as quantitative, and it is one-sided, it is multi-sided, and it has a limited area which is having a wider area. Assessment accept the personality, and this is the total personality. Then there is the inclusion of the value judgment and inclusion of the value judgments. Then this is the quantity and this is the attribute. This is timely, lifelong. This is the mean. Measurement is a mean or basic realizing, and prediction, economical. Comprehensive nature of the assessment. What is the difference between assessment, evaluation, measurement, and examination? This is the whole difference between the assessment, evaluation, and measurement of the examination. Now, what is the purpose of the measurement? First is the prognostic. It is used to predict a learner potential and future performances, success, skill, readiness of a student for future, for task and the challenges. That is the prognostic. Second is monitoring. Monitoring means the purpose of monitoring of assessment focus on tracking the progress of learner over time, and it helps the educator to understand how well students are learning, identify area for improvement, ensure the teaching strategies and effective. Like purpose, we have different seven type. First one is the prognostic, and second is the monitoring. Third is the providing feedback. Providing feedback is basically an interaction to help the student to identify their strength and weaknesses, to clarify the expectations and learning objectives, to guide the learner how to improve their performance, to motivate the student by acknowledge their progress, and to enable the educator to adjust teaching methods based on the students needs. Next is the promotion, to evaluate whether a student is ready to progress to the next level or the grade, that is promotion. To ensure the learners have acquired the required knowledge and skills, to identify students whose needs additional support before advancing, and to maintain the academic standard fairness in progression, and to encourage the student to strive for the better performance. Next is the certification. A certification provides formal recognition of skills and knowledge. It ensures standardization and consistency in qualification. It enhances the professional credibility and trustworthiness, serve as a requirement for career advancement, maintain the industry standard and quantity assurance, offer the global recognition for mobility and opportunity. Selection, identify the most suitable candidate for the role and the opportunity, aids in shortlisting based on the certain criteria, ensure the fair allocations of the resources. Diagnostic means to identify the strength and weakness in the learning and help in detecting the learning gaps and effectiveness difficulties. It helps the guide the teacher in modifying the instruction and strategy, supports the personalized learning interaction. This is, you have to identify that in what is individual and what is personalized difference. Grading, evaluate and categorize student performance level, provide feedback on achievements and progress, motivate the learner to improve their performance, ensure the standardization and fairness in assessment, helps in ranking and completion of the academic purpose. Placement, determine the appropriate level for the position of learner, ensure student to start a suitable stage or the level, and mentions the skill, knowledge or specific knowledge courses. So this is the procedure of assessment, like establishing learning goals, providing learning opportunity, assess student learning and use of the results.